What are some of the challenges you personally had to face?
There was a problem with NRN doctors to even get a license in Nepal.
I do not fit in the bracket of a doctor. I'm not a microbiologist. I don't have a specific registration that the government of Nepal gives.
You've gone through these challenges. What are you working on now to make the challenges less for those who want to come back?
There are a lot of things we can do here as a job keeper instead of job seeker. It takes time, but we can do things globally.
But what about the pay scale?
It doesn't match. $5,000 you only save 1,000 if you have to pay taxes, mortgage. In Nepal, you don't have too much of the expenses outside. Net saving is as good as US or even more. Second thing is purchasing power parity.
Let's get to the rapid fire. Something Nepal does better than the US.
The happiness and the family.
Whole body tests is one of the big red flags in Nepal.
One policy change that would affect things overnight.
Mandatory health insurance.
Digitalization.
If you're gonna bring that change, I am coming, okay? I'm coming.
We need to execute.
How many biotechnologists are there within the valley?
Roughly, we produce about 500.
And how many tend to go abroad? Small pocket. 80%.
Maybe 9.
How would you encourage those abroad to come back?
There's a lot of places for commercializing innovation in Nepal. If you have an accident, they should not struggle finding your blood.
That's so great. Actually, that's a great idea.
Integrate all of those into a holistic platform. The lack of understanding of the people.
Right.
Nowadays, people have that trend of using the ChatGPT or Google
Right.
to interpret the result.
Welcome to Chatter on the Streets, where we cut through the noise of science and health, medicine, and get straight to what matters. No long intros today. Let's just dive into the questions I've been meaning to ask our two specialists here. Dr. Prabhat Adhikari, ICU and ID specialist, who's been practicing medicine for now 15 years, of which I think he spent 7 years here in Nepal, making a lot of changes in the forefront, especially when it comes to policies. Subrat Sitaula, who's been trained in New Zealand as well as Australia, as well as Nepal. And he's been practicing in the field of biotechnology, regenerative medicine for over 10 years. So I'm really appreciative for their time. So thank you for joining us. Just to kind of dive right into, my question would be, what was one of the culture shock you had when you came back? And what are some of the challenges you personally had to face?
So the way you practice medicine and the financials and everything is just different. There's some problem with the labs diagnosis. There's some shortage of medications or the absence of medications. So those are kind of cultural shock in terms of professional work. And the other part, I think it's not of a different culture because we've been brought up here, we've grown here, so we get used to it so fast. It's not that difficult to adjust. There was some pollution when I came here back then, but now it's more cleaner.
Yeah.
And the rest of the things, it's just easy.
Just kind of felt like home. You just kind of like, you've got family, everything just kind of fit into it.
Like this and that.
Yeah.
You're down and dusted.
And yet you stayed. So it says a lot about what you're doing here. And biotechnology, when it comes to like Nepal, it's such a niche, right? It's just a few people leading this world of like research, medicine, all of it. So in layman terms, help us understand what you're doing here in Nepal as a biotechnology expert, clinical research, as well as regenerative medicine. What does that mean?
To start with biotechnology, it's such a wide umbrella term. There's a lot of misunderstanding, lack of knowledge gaps as well. Things
like biology and technology.
Anything that's technical, technological, which can be integrated to medical sciences and life sciences to improve upon the quality of life of the people. That's actually biotechnology.
I think people have a hard time understanding how do you incorporate biotech into like medicine. So I think you've explained it really beautifully. So for you as someone who's like trained in Australia, New Zealand, and you're back here, what was like one or two challenges you personally had to face?
First thing was, how do I explain what do I do for work?
Right.
That's the main problem.
Right.
I do not fit in the bracket of a doctor. I'm not a microbiologist.
Right.
I don't have a specific registration that the government of Nepal gives me as well.
Right.
That's one big problem. With my practicing license, I could easily do countries like Australia. I could do New Zealand. I could do Singapore. I could even do the United States. But I am not a registered professional in Nepal. That's one of the big things. Apart from that, the other challenges I see is the lack of understanding of the people that medicine is a holistic approach.
True.
Healthcare is, it has so many sections, subsections. You have people like receptionists. You have people like microbiologists. You can have people who are very dedicated, or let's say have a very specialized field like infectious diseases or maybe oncology. but there are a lot of people working in the background so that you get your reports in your hand, your condition is diagnosed. I think those sort of gaps, I think, are the most important ones to be filled in Nepal.
Very well said. I think I have a better understanding, and I hope to do the same for everybody, just because, like you said, it's holistic and it's collaborative too. Like multiple bodies make this system work. I think it's so important to kind of have this specialty within us as well. And so with that, I want to ask Dr. Prabhat Adhikari, what are you involved with lately? Because as someone who's been here for 7 years, right? Like you've gone through these challenges. And so what are you working on now to make the challenges less for those who want to come back?
So I'm working the whole ecosystem, right? So first is as a professional, I'm trying to work on making the guidelines or bringing the tests we need, training doctors and nurses and things like that, and also advocacy for making life easier for doctors, and nurses. The second thing is that I'm also working on the policy level, right? So we're trying to sit with the experts and trying to fix this insurance system, health insurance system. The second thing is we're trying to fix this service delivery of the government and the private hospitals. So that means the same thing, like empowering the human resources, and maybe adding up, bringing up nurse practitioner system here, giving license to the biotech, giving license to the microbiologist, bringing in more IT informatics, human resources into the country, inviting the diaspora, to work or involved in knowledge transfer, skill development in Nepal, those kind of things for the service industry. And the third thing, I'm also involved in empowering the industry, the health industry. So when you talk about health industry, Nepal is pretty much doing good in the pharmaceutical industry. I think Nepal is like 60 or 70% self-sufficient in essential medications or generic medications, in Nepal, but we're still lacking the higher level of medications. We don't have a single vaccine company here. We do have a lot of EMR companies, but there's no government policy to facilitate or empower them.
Right.
We do have one or two medical diagnostic companies, but they're struggling to get authorization or approval from the government. So this sector of medical industry, products industries, is really lacking, right? I would say we've moved quite a bit, So for example, so when I came in, there was problem with the US trained doctors or NRN doctors to even get a license in Nepal. But after a lot of lobby and going back and forth and meeting with the experts and all, now we've fixed that. So the NRN doctors, they can get the license to work in Nepal. So there are a lot of things you can do. So everything you want to do, like new tests you want to bring it, new guideline you want to implement, or you talk about health policy or health insurance. That's kind of new here, right? And that's so much of open land where you can, navigate there. So if you love challenges, then Nepal is the place where you can fulfill your challenges, your dreams, and things like that. And the second thing is that you should be an entrepreneur. You should have a mindset that you're here as a job keeper instead of job seeker mentality.
Remember you said that earlier,
right,
yes,
right.
And that's
so if you're here just for your job seeking mentality, looking for jobs and settling for the usual things, then maybe it's not the right place, right? So you have to come up with new ideas, new team, and you have to be ready to navigate there and create jobs or create an industry or entrepreneurship. Those things are important. And the second thing is that Nepal is naturally beautiful, and the Eastern philosophy, the center of Eastern philosophy.
Right.
You love your family, you're close to the nature, and it's very peaceful.
Right.
And so in a matter of a few weeks, you start loving it. It's just like a red wine. It takes time.
Right.
To get
rarely do you hear people who come to Nepal say, "Oh, I didn't enjoy the country or the people." People are usually shocked by how pleasant and amicable the people are.
Yeah, exactly. So Nepal, I think it's one of the best places when you think about spending your life or career here. And also the third thing is that in this world, so everything is a global village, right? So we're located in different parts of the world, but we're connected, and we have AI, IT, So you can be local, but you can do things global, right? So you can be in Nepal, but you could be working for some companies in US, or you could be taking care of patients in Australia, or doing something here in Nepal, and you could be highlighted all over the world. So that's possible. So I think it's one of the best decisions you can make.
I think for someone who lives in the States and thinking of like coming here, like you said, you can be a job seeker, right? You got to have that entrepreneurial spirit. But I'm thinking of like, but what about the pay scale? What about the pay scale, right? Because it's a huge adjustment. And granted, like the lifestyle here as opposed to there. So I'm hoping we'll see a big change.
So when you look at the pay scale, right? So it doesn't match. But there are other things you need to look at besides the pay scale. The first thing is that what's your net saving? So for example, you earn like 5,000 US dollar in the States, but you only save 1,000 because you have to pay taxes, you have to pay for the mortgage, this and that, insurance,
Right.
So maybe at the end you only save 1,000 in your bank balance each month.
Which is true for majority of the people.
Right.
I think it really is.
Right. And maybe in Nepal, you don't have too much of expenses outside. You don't have to pay for the insurance because you don't have insurance, mortgage, things like that. But maybe if your net income and net saving is as good as US or even more, maybe.
Okay.
So that's what you need to look for. Second thing is purchasing power parity. That means like with the same net saving, how much you can buy,
Right.
right? So for example, with $1, maybe you can just buy a peanut in US, right? But in $1, you can have a good meal here.
I think Dr. Adhikari has not been going around here. We need to tell him Nepal's become a little more expensive.
No, it
than
depends,
that.
right?
Yes.
So
it depends on where you're going, right?
it depends on
Your
where
day
you're
to
going.
day.
But the thing is that if you look at the purchasing power parity, then there's some advantage here.
Yeah.
And third thing is your quality of life. So and the fourth thing is happiness.
Right.
So quality of life, it's not just. So for example, in Nepal, you can still ride a car. Maybe it's not Tesla.
Right.
Maybe it's a Chinese EV, but it's an EV. It's a car. It takes you from point A to point B, right? You have a smartphone. It's not an iPhone, but you have a Chinese phone, but it's as good as a phone, a smartphone. So those.
That's a lot of adjustment for us.
Exactly,
but yes, I think, it's a mindset.
Yeah, and
Why
the fourth is the happiness and the family. So I would say the first look at the net saving. Second is calculate your purchasing power parity. Third thing is quality of life.
And happiness.
Fourth thing is happiness. So those are the things you need to look for,
All right. Those people listening to Dr. Adhikari is pretty compelling, but we'll have to keep digging into this in terms of what do you want. On that note, let's get to the rapid fire, okay? Something Nepal does better than the US or Australia, New Zealand.
I think it's the happiness. The
Happiness scale factor is higher here. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think the same?
Happiness is one thing. Another thing is we are very welcoming when it comes to innovations. We like to try new things in the world.
The most ridiculous thing a patient has said to you in your practice?
So I get asked this a lot, like, "Ke khana huncha, ke khana huँदैन?" Every single time,
Because, you don't blame them, right? Because when you look at social media, it's like, too much caffeine, or you can't do this, sleep, exercise. Like, people are just confused.
Yeah. Patient comes in, I prescribe medication or maybe no medication, right?
Yeah.
The first question is, it's not about the medication itself. The first question is, "Doctor sahab, मैले के खानु हुन्छ, के खानु हुँदैन?" And that applies to all the patients, almost all the patients.
Okay. And for you, Subrat?
I think whole body tests is one of the big red flags in Nepal.
Explain that to me.
You go to a diagnostic lab without any consultations. You haven't even seen a GP.
Right.
You have a range of tests in your hand.
Yeah.
And then you come and say, okay, I've already got this.
Right.
What next? What do you say?
Okay, so you do all the testing, unnecessary or necessary, and then there you are. Yeah. And that's a lot of, with the medical insurance, the cost, everything. Like, it just adds up.
They can choose what test they want for their body based on how much money they have in their pocket,
Yeah.
It's not based on if they smoke or not, what's the family. It's not based on that.
Yeah.
It's just based on how much money they have in their pocket.
Yeah, they kind of practice their own concierge, like medicine.
Right,
That's what it is for you. Interesting. Well, who says we don't have money here then? One policy change that would affect things overnight.
Mandatory health insurance, universal health coverage.
Because what's different now, though? Because people are using it to go and getting all the tests and everything. People are being more proactive than what we've been doing before.
Right. So first of all, like they don't have a real health insurance. So most of people, they are paying out of the pocket. And that's leading to mismanagement, misdiagnosis, mistreatment. And the second thing is people are going into poverty because healthcare expenditure is going up and up.
Yeah.
It's going to go further up because of all the crisis. And people are going to get poorer because of lack of insurance,
That's a different perspective on how people are viewing, from the layman term, ways. It's like, oh, medical insurance buyer, let's just go and get all the testing and everything done and not looking at it from that. So that's what we need experts to kind of weigh in and say, how Or, what's a very effective way of having medical insurance here in Nepal?
Digitalization of
Oh,
healthcare.
hallelujah. Yes, please, Lord, yes.
So you do not have to dig into like medical records based on you don't
No,
have to carry files around.
no,
And
no.
if you have had a certain consultation in, let's say, Biratnagar or Janakpur,
Yeah.
you don't have to
Yeah, it's
repeat it when you come to Kathmandu.
yes, because that would save a lot of medical errors too. Like trying to go all the multiple medications one provider would add, and then the patients aren't savvy enough or don't know how to advocate or present their cases. It creates so much confusion. And I wonder, like, only if we had someone auditing, like, where Nepal would be in that way. So, okay, I'm praying for that. Because if that happens, okay, I'm going to hold you guys. If you're all going to bring that change, I am coming, okay? I'm coming. Nepal needs more
Engagement from the diaspora. Engagement in terms of investment, transfer of knowledge, skill, or just being here.
because sometimes I've heard like we do have machines and like well equipped sometimes is what I hear, but we don't have specialists to run that.
Exactly.
And people end up going to like, for example, the cancer hospitals around here. They have to go to the neighboring countries. Like, and I wish we could bring that here. That way we have the economy and the experts and all of it. So I think that would be, yeah, finish that sentence. Nepal needs more.
Execution. We are going to come up with new policies.
Yeah.
We are going to have a lot of people. We're going to have a lot of input. We need to execute them as well.
Yeah. It's like we've collected enough data. We know.
And we need the integrity in terms of data, like you said, because the data we produce needs to be valid.
Exactly.
Needs to be it should be accepted by like global bodies.
Yeah.
Something like an experiment or let's say a test or maybe a clinical trial done in Nepal.
Yeah.
Should
That would be
have
wonderful.
global recognition.
Yeah.
People should trust us.
How has it been since you've been back for the past 6 months now?
It's been a sweet roller coaster ride.
Sweet. You kind of emphasized on that word.
The first thing is the proximity you have with the family while you're here. Like Dr. Prabhat explained, happiness index is beautiful in our country. You don't have to spend that very much to have fun in Nepal. You of course need to know where to go. Hunt places.
It depends on where you can go to spend all that much. Yeah, for sure.
So you need to do your financial planning in a very, very fun way.
Yeah.
And you'll end up in good places. So it's been nice. It's been very impactful in terms of the collaborations I've had here.
Okay.
I've met lovely people who are very much interested in reforming the policy, who want to bring about a long-lasting change in Nepal. And there's a bit of a gap in between how people view the holistic approach of medicine here. It is not just like work around like a single designation, like a doctor and nurse.
Right.
And there are people working in the background.
Yeah.
You have to think about things that lead kind of innovations.
Yeah.
You have to consider the people who work really hard to bring about like a therapy or medicine here. So that's been fun here.
And maybe it's just my limited way of thinking, just because I've not been exposed to medicine in Nepal. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I have been, but like when it comes to incorporating biotech, right? Because you don't hear about clinical trials. How many biotechnologists are there within the valley?
I think there's colleges like Kantipur, even Himalayan White House does biotech, there's Sun International. So I think roughly we produce about 500.
And how many tend to go abroad from your general idea? Because I just feel like it's such a small pocket. 80%.
Or maybe 90.
Actually, I shouldn't be surprised because you just talked about just not having the right infrastructure to be able to do what you're trained to do.
And when I say a biotechnologist migrates, it also could be, cross-faculty. Someone trained in biotech would rather end up doing microbiology for work because that's more recruitable kind of a profession.
Fair. Sure. Yeah.
So that's also it's all a subtle way of people migrating towards another profession. It's also considered migrating.
Okay, so for you, like right now, what are you involved in?
I am involved in antimicrobial resistance.
Yes, that's a huge topic, and I think throughout the world.
So to just build it up.
Yeah.
So there's a trend of people going to a pharmacy and asking for an antibiotic by themselves.
Yeah.
Which is massively misregulated in Nepal. Second thing is people are not following the courses. They feel like they have had like enough number of doses by themselves and they feel better.
Yeah.
And they just stop the dose. They don't think about when the infection is going to recur in the future.
Or the amount of doses needed to treat that infection.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's one of those things. And the other thing is people do not have prescriptions in their hand while they go and ask for scheduled drugs.
Yeah.
Narcotics should be a responsibility of Ministry of.
Isn't that regulated? Because you can't just go. It all depends on how you can get it. Okay. All right.
If you have like a family member or even a neighbor or a pharmacy in your area,
Yeah.
and if you have built a level of trust, you can go and ask for anybody. And there's a trend of young people. Young, when I say young, even someone who is not even an adult, going to a pharmacy to get a medication for their parents. What if that gap could be where
Regulated and
narcotics come into play?
Exactly.
And there is certain things which has to be very much recorded in every medical system. We should know exactly how many drugs are scheduled and how many of those are imported into our country, how they are distributed. And there should be a very clear like way to understand how is the pharmacist providing it.
And so you're working on some of those.
I'm working on some of those
Okay.
on policy levels as well.
Yeah.
And I am also more interested about understanding why antimicrobial resistance is such a disregarded field in our.
Shouldn't be, because soon we might be running out, right? It's could become like an epidemic for sure, just because throughout, and again, it is regulated to a certain extent, but even like in the States though, like the amount of UTIs you have, and then you fail to look at like what's colonized and not, and then you're just like, just because it shows in your UA and people are just treating. And that's why I'm very thankful for like, experts and infectious disease specialists that actually weigh in and say, hey, just because you're seeing X, Y, and Z in your analysis or your culture doesn't mean you have to treat it because it's coming with the level of resistance. It's that in the States is what
While
we
you
do.
say that, I think there's this lack of following a few practices like point of care services.
Yeah.
You have to actually wait a couple of days to get your urolysys back here.
Yeah,
So why not people just go for sticks,
yeah,
dipsticks, and just give you the results? Start like things with like maybe urals.
yeah.
What's your call? Urinary alkalizers.
Okay, yeah, I think
Those
we've got more like a micro dipstick, like that's what we call it, but yeah, different names for it.
A lot of hospitals in Nepal who are not aware, or maybe if they are not practicing things like biosafety, how the containment of the microbes is done. And during the COVID period, there was a lot of like sales of PPEs.
Yeah.
People love to buy those like oximeters at home.
Right.
People love to have an oxygen cylinder lying somewhere around.
Yeah.
Those kind of regulations are also lacking.
Yeah.
What if there's a big like accident?
I mean, there was a huge panic, and so if you can afford it, you're getting it.
Exactly.
Right.
But you
And
should
then
not
there's
be
a
allowed
shortage.
to
Yeah.
buy
I agree.
that easily. And
Yeah.
what about the reliability of the results?
Yeah.
So if you're buying a XYZ company, like brand that makes a like oximeter, it shows you 82, you rush to a hospital.
Right. Yeah.
Like false alarms are not a bad thing, but what if you are like
The burden that you actually add by doing something like this, your own stress, then the hospital when you didn't need to, your own interpretation. Like there's so many things that it's a ripple effect of all of this. So, all right, as we streamline, have you ever had to be a patient here in Nepal?
I was, yeah.
Okay. And in terms of like, did you encounter a lot of doctors that had come back from the US?
Not really, because in this scenario, it was about like maybe 10 years back.
Okay.
So I was not much acquainted to
With all
the
this, yeah.
like doctors back then.
Or even like the tests that they were doing, like you now, right, as someone who researches and is looking into clinical trials, I'm sure you'd have a different mindset at that time. But like today, yeah, so maybe it's not a fair question to you, but I was just wondering if you'd ever had to be on the other side.
I have participated in a clinical trial in Australia as a participant. Before I was a clinical research associate or maybe a research coordinator, I was a patient. So I have seen that side of clinical trials as well.
Yeah.
And I think informed consent is massively lacking in our country when it comes to medical practices.
Yeah.
And the people filming people. Which has recently been like
So much
criticized
work, yes.
criticized by the MOHP recently. They are trying to address it, but I think privacy is a very important thing when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah.
Which has to be like reinforced in general.
Yeah, you have like 5 family members coming in. Like in terms of privacy, I think the HIPAA is what we use.
Sure.
I don't know how much it exists here. I don't think it does.
And also like the practice of actually visiting a general physician or general practitioner, that has to come back. You can't decide which specialist you want to go to directly.
So in conclusion, since you're on the hot seat today, we need to ask you, just because you guys are such a small pool of people, experts here, how would you encourage those abroad
To come back?
To come back, because I think we lack specialties in Nepal. And so how would you encourage no sugarcoating, like give it real?
There's a lot of possibilities in Nepal. There's unexplored fields, and there's a lot of places for commercializing innovation in Nepal. So when you are a biotech practitioner or a biotech specialist, or you could be a medical, or you could be industrial. Don't just think about medicine.
Yeah.
You can imply your field of study
Yeah.
into industries. Could be food. You could work on reinforcing the like the food processes, GMP. You could also be
I'm thinking of like where I could be in. Yes.
you could be like just working on data. You could work even if you have a bit of idea about bioinformatics. You're an IT professional. You don't even need to be a medical professional. You can come and help build a better digital perspective of health in Nepal as well.
Subrat, I'm going to hold you accountable. I think you need to work on that, okay? Like,
I am directly
digitalize.
involved. I am.
Yes. Okay.
And my understanding about EMR and EHR is, since I've been in clinical trials, also work in hospitals, when you have a good documentation practice, it relieves you of a big level of burden.
Right.
You have like you can integrate it to anything. Could be integrated to like something like a health insurance. Could be even could be like pharmacies.
Okay.
And you you have
Well, like the medical products that we use, like anything,
everything.
anything.
And
Yes.
even if you have God forbid, if you have an accident,
Yeah.
your
Just not my eye.
yeah, it's just not your eyes. Okay, any sort of accident, they should not struggle finding your blood group. What if you don't drive? You don't have a driving license.
Yeah.
If they could kind of integrate,
And what if you've never been to the hospital to even have a record?
like we have something called national identity card, Rashtriya Parichaya Patra. There's a chip. Why not use that?
Right, because like in the States, at least it says like, it gives you a little bit of that and if you're a donor or not, and that's how you know. Right, but that's so great. Actually, that's a great idea.
Why not utilize the things which have already been like installed in the past?
We just adapt some of the things,
And I think other big thing is we love to compare ourselves with very regulated medical systems. We should compare with relatable economics. We should not just be comparing ourselves to the FDA or TGA or EMA. We should compare ourselves with Sri Lanka.
Something neighboring.
Something neighboring could be India. There's so many good things happening in India.
I think we could start there, just because it just all depends on how we're going to compare and measure progress.
Another thing about digitalization of healthcare, the current government is quite prioritizing on that field. What I feel is having a digital healthcare platform invites a lot of gaps that need to be filled in the future. For example, if let's say a hospital is using a certain EMR, for example, Epic, or let's say Cerner Millennium, what about being able to integrate all of those into a holistic platform, like myhealth.gov.np, for example, My Digital Health, so that you don't have to go anywhere. You should have a patient portal right there. You can have all your reports sent to. And there needs to be a bit of like a screening, or let's say filtering when it comes to giving the results to the patients as well. You cannot reveal everything to the patient because it creates a sort of a panic.
Right.
Nowadays, people have that trend of like a Google, using the Chat GPT or Google to interpret the results, and they are self-medicating.
Oh yeah, that's the room for lots of error, because not everything kind of extrapolates clinical data, like real data. It's just so generalized. And again, I'm sure there are medical AIs and everything that could do it, but no, you're spot on. And so I think that's what I would say to all the policymakers, to all the investors. Please be in touch with Subrat Sitaula, because he's got many ideas, someone who is eager to bring a change in Nepal, has been persistent, if I should say, at least since the time he's been back, and it's only been 6 months. So I think we need more of this vigor and passion from a lot of those that are even considering coming to Nepal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, and I appreciate all of this so much, just because it's adding a lot of insight for me personally, and just where I hope to at someday bring a change if I can. So,
likewise.
thank you for staying, and thank you for saying it louder. No more data. We need to implement the data that we already have here in Nepal. Let's bring the change. New Nepal, Hamra Nepal. Namaste.